We're approaching everything, how we do every day-to-day business in a whole different way. And just the supporting each other within our community is what's so vital right now. I think we will see a different industry when we emerge. Yeah, we'll be stronger, we'll be wiser, and we'll be more unified.
Okay, it's April 9th, and we are with Hannah Hunt. Hannah is the president of High South Event Professionals, which is the High Country's wedding association representing all types of vendors for the wedding industry up here in the High Country. She is also the owner-operator of Golden Thistle Design, which is a wedding floral business serving the High Country. And not only are you enmeshed in the wedding industry professionally, but if I understand correctly, you are helping your daughter plan a wedding this summer. Is that right?
Actually, May 31st. So
nice.
We are feeling it right with our brides as far as rescheduling.
So I figured you were the perfect person to talk to about how the pandemic is affecting this industry that really has a lot of impact on our local economy. I like to say it has long tentacles into all parts of our local economy, a lot of livelihoods affected by it. So as the president of the High South Association, I figured you might have some good insight for people and some tips on how small businesses can figure this thing out maybe. So I wanted to start by asking you if you had any ideas on how big the industry is up here.
Well, as far as our membership, we are currently about 123 members. We've actually extended our membership deadline to give people a little time. We have 30 venues that are currently members of the High South Event Professionals. So just the venues themselves, we can take, for example, Overlook Barn, which is nationally renowned, and they had about 60 weddings booked just this year. You multiply that out times all of these other venues, there's a lot of weddings in the High Country.
Yeah, a lot of business on the line and a lot of people scrambling to try to figure out what they're going to do on both sides, on the client side and the business side. So can you give us, for those that aren't familiar as we are, because in full disclosure, I'm a part-time wedding photographer, and so I have a bit of a personal stake in this whole thing as well. But for those of us who aren't as familiar with the industry, can you give us a picture of the far-reaching impact, the different types of businesses that are in this industry, and how that looks?
I mean, you start with the obvious. You have your venues, and you have your photographers and videographers, floral designers, caterers, cake bakers. Those are the obvious ones. But then you also have the hotels that we're counting on 150 guest room booking for just one wedding. You have the tourist industry. What are the guests doing while they're in town? Well, they're exploring the High Country. They're shopping. It just keeps compounding and stretching. I like your word tentacles. It just keeps going.
Yeah, exactly. So how are some of the clients responding?
It's been tricky. One thing that we've really encouraged the members to do is to use positive language when we're communicating with our clients. The venues and the planners are really on the forefront dealing with the brides. They're coming then, of course, next to photographers, floral designers. They're scared. They're worried. We're trying to rebook them. So we're using language instead of cancels. We're using language like rescheduling, which is a lot more positive. And we're working together. I did have one mother of the bride just reach out to me in tears. She had paid in full for all of her vendors for a June wedding. And she was just very open. We've got a very good relationship. And she says, Anna, am I going to lose everything I've put into my daughter's wedding? And I said, absolutely not. I'm personally talking to, Karen, the planner and manager of Overlook Barn, and we're in communication. We're in communication with the planners. We're in communication with photographers, and we're working really hand in hand so that we can come to these clients and say, we're here for you. We're not going to just abandon you. We will find a new date. And if we can't make that date work, we're also encouraging vendors to communicate within the organization with other vendors of the same field.
Yeah. So I understand as a association, you guys are trying to help different members. You've been providing some support, different advice or whatnot. Can you walk us through a couple of the things that you guys are offering?
Certainly. The main point behind the High South Event Professionals is networking and professional development. So got some great board members that have just brilliant minds and have come up with some ideas out of the box. So we started doing Zoom meetings, and we had Josh Teague from Capua Law here in Boone came to one of our Zoom meetings, and he talked about our contracts and legal. What can we do? You know, some of us in our contracts will take a down payment or partial payment or a retainer fee. And in the contract, it might say part of that is non-refundable, but then legally, how can we hold up to that? He talked to us about putting a force majeure clause into our contracts, which most of us were like, oh, what?
Yeah.
And this would specifically lay out pandemic, you know, using some of these languages that before now we haven't ever thought of putting into our contracts.
So what about on the promotional or communications publicity side? Is that factoring into this?
It is, you know, we're kind of on a standstill right now as an industry. Some of the Zoom meetings I've been in with industry leaders within the floral community have been really encouraging keeping our public profile active, keeping beautiful images of weddings, of wedding flowers, a photographer using some of their beautiful work, and just in our clients' mind and our social media presence, staying relevant, reminding people of these beautiful things that are on hold right now, but will be coming back hopefully very soon. Maybe not soon enough for my daughter's wedding. We'll see.
Are there some specific things on that social media side that you guys are trying to do?
Yes, we've got a couple of different things that we're exploring. We do have, instead of our members meeting, we're doing another Zoom meeting, and we have a social media expert coming on to speak to us about what we can do right now. Personally, some things I've done is I've gathered flowers and I did a tutorial video and showed people what they could do. Some of the flowers I bought from the mustard seed market. And so I'm giving a shout out to them. Just again, that kind of helping each other in the community. Another thing that we're doing is because the Married in the Mountains showcase, our big wedding expo that was going to be here in August of 2020, we've rescheduled it and we're kind of rebranding it. One way that we're doing that is we're going to let our High South members do a Instagram takeover where they take over the High South Instagram for so many days, and they'll get to put their images on our Instagram, crossing tags, cross posting, all of these things to boost the algorithm. So it's a way, again, to help our vendors. Like a photographer really relies on the showcase to meet clients face to face and to really increase their booking potential. So this is just a way to help give them some publicity options.
Is there any other evidence of creativity or innovation out of necessity that you've seen going on out there of these vendors just to try to stay afloat or to make it through this?
I know I've heard some photographers talk about trying to do some more commercial work. There's a lot of talk about doing photo shoots. Again, things like I did with doing a video tutorial with the flower arranging. So finding ways that we can showcase our skills. So I just think, we're approaching everything, how we do every day-to-day business in a whole different way. And just the supporting each other within our community is what's so vital right now.
Yeah. Is there, kind of on that same note, is there any sort of piece of advice that you have, or kind of like your top couple tips for these small businesses that are in this industry, that are event-based or that are, that are trying to make it through?
If this extends through into June, or if it comes back in the fall and we start dealing with cancellations, how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to financially deal with that, legally deal with that. So taking this time where we're not working and reviewing our contracts, reviewing the language that we use, but I would say being positive and communicating with your other vendors as well, because we're not in this alone.
Yeah.
Reaching out, to other, I've reached out to the other florists, we're all on board to help each other if the eventuality comes across that we can't rebook or reschedule a particular date.
My final question for you is sort of around this idea of the silver lining. If there's some good that comes out of this, what is that going to be, in your opinion?
I heard somebody online say that this was going to separate the hobbyists from the professionals. And when we start talking about all of this work that we're going to have to put into our business to rethink and to be prepared, I think we will see a different industry when we emerge. I think we're going to be stronger. I think the networking bonds, particularly within the High South that I've seen, have become stronger. I think that we're going to be better protected as businesses when we start reviewing our contracts. This has forced all of us to look at our contracts and say, oh, maybe I do need to go sit down with Josh and have him review my contract and make sure that I'm legally covered. Yeah. So I think we're just going to, we'll be stronger, we'll be wiser, and we'll be more unified.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Pleasure.
And I wish you the best this season and with your daughter's wedding and everything. I hope it all works out good.
Thank you.